Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. As some of you might have noticed, I'm not Ricky. My name is Robin and I'm part of the DataBasics sales team here. We had some technical difficulties with our previous webinar, so we've had to re-record it. So today's webinar is going to be on brand asset management and how that can be achieved using Flight. So to accompany this, we've got a few demonstrations. Most of it is going to be based on the blog posting that we have on our DataBasics website. You can see this here by going to databasics.com.au, following to the news/blog at the top here, clicking on that and then going to brand management with Flight. So there's a couple of things that we're going to be going over. Firstly, how to create a solid brand image throughout all of your Flight instances. So as you can see here, as an example, we've got our own DataBasics marketing Flight instance, and we use it with some pictures from our marketing of our website. Following down from that, we can go through how we can achieve that, the color options we have and how exactly to change that, the settings we have in creating a custom login interface, discussing what portals are. These will be very important for brand asset management. Looking at some of the options we have with portals as far as downloading options, sharing options, making it login only access or public, syncing settings. Then we can even go into how to share portals. We're going to be looking at custom branded portals. In this instance, we are looking at the great example portal that we created for the purposes of showing off just how powerful a brand asset management tool Flight can be. We'll go into how to customize these portals to portray whether it's a customer's brand, your own brand, and we'll really go through the differences it has to the main Flight instance. And we'll talk more about that throughout the presentation. We're going to be going through again some of the coloring options and the differences we have in customization and how we can really make Flight yours. And then we'll go through the little touch-ups, little techniques that will really make your brand asset management tool stand out. We'll go through how to do digital rights management for all of your content and even show you some of the options available to customize that and really control how that's portrayed to your users. And then we're going to be going into obviously how to set that up and what options we have in customization. We'll show you some examples of how to do that and how it affects the end user. And then last but not least, we'll be going into dashboards and showing how dashboards can be used to monitor how your files are being used. With that out of the way, let's move on to see exactly how all of these things can be accomplished within Flight. So right at the beginning, let's go to customizing your Flight instance to portray your brand. So up the top here, I've got our DataBasics demo page that shows all of our assets, like you may be used to if you've used Flight before, in the normal view, with your folder structure on the side, with your albums, just like normal. So how can we get these logos and color schemes to show out throughout all of our different sections? It's very simple with Flight. Up the top right here, you'll see this little person icon. So this can be customized with your own picture in it for your user, but in this case, it's just the blank default. So this brings up the menu. This menu is extremely powerful and actually shows most of the options we have in Flight. So today, we'll be working with settings. So if we click on settings, and then navigate our way over into the account settings section, into branding. Here we are. So this is the branding settings page. So this is where we can make your login section of your Flight instance, as well as your home page instance of Flight, decorated as any way you wish. So as you can see on the left here, we've got the logo. So you can add your logo here. As it says here, it's recommended that it is 252 by 57 pixels, but this can be played around with, and there's a lot of flexibility within Flight to really make your logo stand out. Just below that, we have color. So we can see here that there are a couple of predefined color options. Now you can choose one of these if you just want a nicely colored generic look, but most of you will probably already have some sort of marketing or branding that you'd like to incorporate. With Flight, putting those sort of color schemes is very simple. It's a matter of clicking the section you want to be a different color. Let's go for the big button on the left here, and we can change that and slide. So I'm going to just copy our current color, but let's say we wanted this to be a green. We can make that into the green, we can slide that up, change it exactly how we want it, and then we can press OK. Not that I'd ever recommend this color scheme, but as an example, I think it serves a great purpose. We can see how it changes on the right here. The green changes the login button, it changes all the selected menus here, as well as the overall top left menu button in Flight. So let's quickly change that back to how it was. There we are. And just as you can see, order is restored to the world, and we have no reason to worry anymore. So there are different options between light and dark, and this again will change the complete layout of your Flight to different colors. We can then go into the themes and colors here again, and really differentiate and choose exactly how the coloring is working in your Flight instance. Down the bottom here, exactly as it shows in the blog here, we can see the login options. So if you've ever wanted to portray a certain message to a client, maybe it's a logo or a slogan of your business, this is a perfect place to put that. Anybody that wants to log into the instance of Flight will have to read this as they come in, and it's also a good way to start showing your brand off. And we decided to go for a beach aesthetic or a bit of water to make it look relaxed and inviting. But this here allows you to choose any photo that you like to greet your users. Perfect. Now that we've learned how to customize our website, let's see what's next to learn today. After we've gone through these settings, we reach portals. Now portals, like I said previously, are immensely important and powerful tools that come with your Flight. So let's quickly have a look at how we've been using them in our demo DataBasics Flight instance. So going back to the main page here, we can see, just as how we described it previously, the landing page. And up the top right here again, where your menu gets dropped down, we can go to Portal. So let's click on that one right now. So we've obviously got quite a few examples here. So the first one we're going to be looking at today is School Demo. So for us, we decided we wanted to showcase how an educational institution might utilize portals. So let's say you've had a great sports day. Everybody turned out, they performed well, all the students won awards, records were broken, and you need to show this to the local newspaper. So sending them this will provide them access to any photos that they might need. Documents, obviously, maybe a non-disclosure agreement, or forms that show that the pictures are allowed to be published. School branding photos, in case they wanted to show the logo with the photos, if they wanted to show where the school was from, maybe even looking at some other photos of the school to show where the school, or where the students came from rather. Going back to the top left here, we can click on the school logo, and we can see the sports day photos. Now by simply clicking on this, the reporter or the newspaper writer can click on any photos they might want to use. Let's say these toddlers playing soccer, for instance. And it's a simple matter for them to see and look at all the photos that they might want to include in that newspaper section. Just like that. Perfect. So going based on what we've talked about before, we can see that we have a different logo up here. We still access that portal from our DataBasics site, but it looks completely different. So this is what portals allow us to do. So I'm going to go back to our Flight instance here, and we can see how we've set the school example up to show that it is possible to create very dynamic portals. So going to settings, going to the portal section, you can create a new publishing portal by clicking on the button here. But for our purposes, we're going to be reviewing the settings for the school demo. So here we are. This is the page we always start off with when creating a new portal, or indeed viewing a portal that's already created. We can see some of the basics: a name for the portal, a description of the portal, a URL for the portal. The URL is important as this is what is shared to give access to this portal in particular. At the moment, we've got it set to private, but if I wanted it to be accessible by anybody with the URL, I just switch that to public. A simple process like that will allow us to share it quickly and easily. I'm able to edit the content which I want to be displayed in this portal. In this case, I've chosen school and added all 3 of these particular albums. And as you can see, based on that, the 3 albums became these individual sections here. Perfect. So let's carry on with the example. So that's fine as well. Now, the next section here is the configuration permissions. So I don't know if anybody noticed, but if I was to try at the moment to maybe get a picture to use in my newspaper, there's no option to download yet. Usually it would appear up here. That's because I've had the download content switch off in the settings. But I want to make sure that anybody can download these images. So let's click on that button there. From here, we have multiple options to show some download presets, some options, some different downloads, and these can be set within your settings of Flight as well. As well as that, you can see there are some sharing options. So in this case, we don't want them to be shared with anybody, but if we did, it would be a simple process of just selecting these buttons. Now that I've changed this, let's have a look at how it affects our other Flight instance here. Save those settings. If I refresh this page, now immediately we can see that the download button appears in the top left here. If I were to click that, it would show me the image that I'm downloading, and I could press the download button down the bottom right. And just like that, it quickly goes into my downloads. So you can see how this would be a very effective tool for sharing with people that you work with. Great. So going back to the settings here, seeing the next section. Now we've gone over the configuration permissions and what can be downloaded and what can be shared. Let's look at the custom branding. So in a very similar way, you can see that this looks the same as what we were looking at in the main website, and you'd be right in thinking so. So again, you can choose any color scheme you like by just pressing the individual buttons. We've gone for a very grayscale look in this particular instance. Again, all the customization options are there, and it allows you to create a custom login page for anybody that's just trying to access the portal and nothing else. Closing this one down, we can move to the next section. And this is where portals really shine. And this is how they can allow you to customize how they appear visually. With our normal instance of Flight, it can be difficult to see how this is done, because it just all appears in the traditional view, if I click on this one, with the folders on the left and the images in the middle section here. There's no color scheme, there's no ability to add other pictures in bigger formats to change how the pictures are portrayed. But with the portals, as you can see here, we have a large banner photo that goes on the top and really invites the user in. We have the ability to change the portal title, so in this case we can call it Example School Portal. Just like that. Excuse the spelling. And we can search and we can customize the section titles. And then the newest feature of Flight is that you can actually change the size and the layout of these images. Let's say I wanted it to be a large image followed by several smaller ones. You can see how quickly and easily Flight turns this into a reality. Let's change it back to how it was. That's the simplicity of Flight. You can see also that it can change to to show in the traditional way. So by going Smart Album, we look at it as it is portrayed here, where without those album images, it would just show all the content. But we believe that the custom filter here is the best for brand asset management. And that's an example of how you can turn portals into a publication tool, or any simple sharing use you might have. So let's go back. The next example we're going to look at is one of the favorites of mine, and that is our flight branding portal. So we've mentioned brand asset management quite a few times today. So in the next section, we're going to be talking about how that's different to flight as a digital asset management, and how we've been able to incorporate those ideas to make our great brand usage guide, our brand asset management example. So what is brand asset management? So when you have a brand, it's very important that the integrity of that brand is maintained. If somebody were to misuse your brand assets or your logos, present them in the incorrect color, it can reflect very badly on the brand itself. So we imagine that a brand asset management solution would be perfect in a situation like this. We have here two professionals who are talking about how a brand is to be used. By bringing up the brand asset management service, we're able to quickly and easily discuss the different materials, the usages, and even the correct ways that logos should be placed and what logo should be used in which situation. So, how can we use Flight to achieve something like this? Well, for us it's important to first define what the key things are about a brand asset management tool so that we can prove those using Flight. So here are three simple ways that we can distinguish a brand asset management tool. So with a digital asset management tool, you can have tens of thousands of photos or digital files. With your brand assets, we're probably looking at far less than that, considering you only need a few different assets to be portrayed using your brand. So the difference here is that with a brand asset management tool, you're looking at hundreds of photos maybe, not thousands. And the second part of this is it has to be simple, fast, and easy. The general rule of thumb is that it should be 2 clicks to get what you need. And the last, but definitely one of the most important, is that it's able to present a guideline along with the brand assets to help you utilize the logos effectively and correctly to not damage the brand. So how does Flight accomplish this? Let's have a look at the Great Brand Asset Guide here. So immediately, similar to the portals we've discussed before, we can see that there's a logo in the top left, a nice cover photo which portrays some of the brand, and then below that we can see some of the material. So in this case, we decided to very much emphasize the style guide and some of the marketing collateral. And then below that we can see some box images, which is just the example product we've come up with, and then a file just containing the different logos for different situations. So this can be very quickly shared. Anybody with this particular URL, let me show you as an example. By entering that, immediately you are taken to the Great Portal. And 2 clicks to anything you need. If I needed to get a brand guideline, it would just be a simple process of clicking and then clicking again to get that particular file. And just like that, we've downloaded our style guide to be utilized with any of our team. So we've already established that one of the most important features is that efficiency. And we can see how quickly brand asset management can be shared with any partner you're working with. So in this case, we've got the images here of the boxes. So when you have this sort of marketing collateral, it can be expensive. So it's important to protect your files so that they can't be used by anybody else, especially if you're going to be sharing it publicly. So let's have a look at this beautiful box image. So you can imagine the hours that would have gone into taking this photo, the meticulous placement on the blank background. You just don't get cardboard quality like this without paying a fortune. So let's see how this can be utilized and protected. So if I was trying to maliciously steal this, I'd click the download button, and already before that even, I see that there's this red watermark all over the image that I want to take. Let's see if that disappears if I download it. Okay, great, here's the image, and damn it, it's got the watermark still there. So let's just download it. Oh, I can't. So this is how Flight protects its assets. So some of you might be familiar with the digital rights management that Flight provides. But if you enable it on an image, you can have it so that nobody can download it. You can have it so that it can be downloaded in only preset resolutions. Or in this case, we've decided to make sure that the person downloads by agreeing the terms and conditions. So by clicking here, I can quickly read which those are in particular. I can agree to those, and then I can download that image as well. And just like that, I've prevented them by showing them that they're legally bound to not steal any of these images. Perfect. So as you can see here, we have a few images, as we've seen as a prerequisite of a brand asset management tool. We've shown just how fast it can be to share and get to these images. And we've shown just how easy it is to present brand guidelines along with your assets. And showing again here, we've got that at the forefront of the page. You can have this with multiple different products. If you sell several products, you can have the style guide or the brand guideline within each of those. So if we had more than boxes, we might have the box style guide or the tube style guide as an example. This way you can show the clients exactly, or the customers, how you want your brand portrayed. With that, we conclude how to use Flight as a brand asset management tool. Great. I hope you've learnt now how Flight can be used alongside portals to create brand asset management solutions, as well as to create dynamic portals for sharing purposes. So I'd like to just direct us back to the blog to make sure we go over all the content. So we've gone over custom branded portals. As I said, we showed the Great portal, the School portal, and we'll go to one more during this demonstration. We've shown how customization can be achieved by making a public or private portal, by editing the name or description of the portal. And then we've looked into how you can create a custom landing page with that nice cover photo, as well as a selection of dynamically sized album photos. So we've also talked about how to use the visual editing tools to present your logo as well as your color scheme in your instance of Flight. Again, similarly to how it is done in the main library of Flight. So looking up here, we can see that we're able to choose the images that are portrayed within this particular system in our portals. So how can we customize this? Well, as the blog shows here, it's a simple process of navigating to the album and selecting the Select as Album Cover Photo. Let's go through an example of this. Navigating back to our Flight page here, we've got a bunch of images inside of our School folder, inside of our album for Sports Day photos. So let's quickly go into there again. So let's say I wanted the soccer ball or the basketball dunking man to be the cover photo. I'd click on that image, and then I would click on the Set as Cover. And that would set it from that point forward. Just like that, we have a new cover photo. I'll just show that again. If we navigate to the folder into the album, we can select the image we want to use, click on the image, and up the top left, there's an icon that loads that allows us to set as cover. So we're just going to click that one, and yes again. So quickly and easily, we're able to change how that's portrayed. If we then go to School here, we can see that it's refreshed inside this portal itself. Perfect. Following on from this, we've talked about digital rights management, but we haven't shown the different options of how it can be utilized and changed. So going back to the main instance of Flight, into the settings, we can go into digital rights management right here underneath configuration options. As you can see, we've got a few examples here, some of them for demonstration purposes, and our great watermark used in the previous demonstration. You can upload new watermarks, and you can call them different things depending on the use cases. Perfect. Okay, again, once you create a new watermark, you can also show how it is positioned and the size of which it is portrayed over the image. If you want it to be 100%, it could cover the entire image. So how do we apply this watermark to images? As an example, we know that some of the box images we used before from the great example have digital rights management on them. So let's navigate there. If we go to the demo branding portal content on the left, we click on the box images, and we click on, again, that magnificent cardboard box. We can go into the down arrow up here, and we can see that actually it has digital rights management applied to it. We can see here that it's got the demo branding great watermark attached, and that it has the terms and conditions which can be customized and edited right here, just like that. Next on our list, again, we can see it being showed as an example here for the box. We have monitoring your brand as the next section. So monitoring your brand is very important. So Flight has the dashboard, but a lot of the time it is overlooked. But if you were to utilize Flight as a brand asset management tool, it can give great insight into how your brand is performing. So by going back to our Flight instance, going to the main section and clicking on dashboard, we can customize the dashboard however we like. We can move sections about, we can change how they interact with each other and how they overlap. So in our Flight instance, we have a lot of different downloads, but I can see here that our Esplanade picture is one of the most downloaded. You can imagine in your workplace being able to see which images your clients are interacting most with can give you a powerful insight and show you exactly what you should be focusing further marketing on. There are many different sections here which can give you great insights about your business. The recent uploads, the different file types, the amount of space being taken up by file types, but none more powerful than the top commented files and the top downloads based on the ability to see the brand. Great, so we can see how powerful dashboard can be. Let's go over all the things we learned today just to finalize it in all of our heads. So, right to the top, we've seen how by using your brand and by using some marketing photos, you can make Flight seem like just an extension of your normal website. We've shown how we can make those changes using the simple user interface from Flight. We've looked at custom login pages. We've shown what portals are and how they can be shared. We've looked through the settings of Flight and looked at how links can be shared in Flight. We have looked at custom branded portals, and we've shown 3 examples: the school portal, the great portal, and the locations portal. So the locations portal here, just one last example, showing that you can utilize differences and changes depending on your use case, with beautiful images being portrayed of our Australian landscape. We have gone over the different options of portals to portray your brand or your images in any way you like. We've shown how the banner image can be changed and how you can change the branding of your portal to continue again that solid brand image. We've shown how you can set cover photos for your albums, and we've looked at your digital rights management, showing how you can create custom watermarks that can be shared and changed depending on the asset itself, even going as far as being able to update your terms and conditions for individual photos. We've showed how that works for the end user with that watermark being shown over the top of the file. And we've looked at the dashboard and how it can be a powerful tool in monitoring your brand. When this webinar was live, we received 2 important questions, and I'd just like to go over them again today to make sure that nobody missed out. The first question we got from a user was how are portals shared and the differences between private and public portals. So let's quickly go and have a look at that one last time. So by going to Flight here, we can show that this is a private portal. If I was to access this particular portal from the incognito browser I have for just this purpose, we can see how it would be accessed by somebody who doesn't have access. And immediately we're met with this login screen. So because I'm logged in on my other instance, I don't have access to this. But in a similar light, when it's public, like our great brand portal, by copying this URL and pasting it into a new section, you can see that it doesn't require me to log in. This is the biggest difference between private and public. It just shows that it just makes it either easier or more difficult to access that content. Perfect. So I hope that answers how that is shared. When you're sharing a private one, you have to have them as a user. While you're sharing a public portal, it's just as simple as sharing them with the URL. So the next question we have are how are portals updated? So if I change the content, how can I update that to the portal itself? So let's go into the Great portal as an example, going to the settings over here. So I'm just going to navigate my way back to the original Flight instance by going back here to the home page, going to settings, going to the branding portal. So if I go to custom the landing page, for instance, and I was to edit the images so that 3 images appeared in the same size or slightly bigger while the rest are slightly smaller, I would just press the Save button up the top here. Once that's saved, I can navigate again to this portal here, refresh, and just like that, I've made a change that has gone out to anybody that's accessing my particular Flight portal. So that wraps it up for today's webinar. I hope it's been informative, and I'm sorry for the technical difficulties we've had. We're looking forward to releasing one more webinar towards the end of the year, discussing the top 10 features of Flight. I can't wait to talk to you all then. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.